things just got a whole lot worse. After Toei Animation's systematic dismantling of the Totally Not Mark YouTube channel, we received the worst answer we possibly could have, which is silence. After a fairly incredible amount of noise raised towards both YouTube and Toei, neither have chosen to respond, much less take any actual action. Not directly anyway. There's this funny section that Toei America now has on their website. In fact, it's the very first question addressed in their FAQ, which reads, "What if I post a video on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or personal website with footage from one of Toei Animation's works?" And their answer to this query is, "We hope you understand that any illegal or unauthorized use of our IP would result in the blocking or deletion of your video, whether it's for monetary gain or not. We currently do not support any individual, regardless of the number of followers and validations." That last part there seems oddly specifically geared to maybe a certain large YouTuber, but it's sneaky, very sneaky, dare I even say cowardly. But Toei have indirectly responded to the Totally Not Mark controversy and severe backlash leveled against them. And their reply is, "Get effed." And pay very careful attention to the phrasing here where they say any illegal or unauthorized use, because they can't just say illegal, because they have a full understanding of the concept of fair use, so they've got to add in that unauthorized bit just to justify their horrendous behavior. But in terms of Totally Not Mark, I'm sad to say that he has understandably given up. And when I say understandably, I mean that there's just literally nothing else that can be done. When an issue goes as high as the Lord and Savior of YouTube, PewDiePie himself, and still gets ignored, well, there's just nothing left after that. So Mark has posted a third video, or more of a sound recording really, and again, I don't blame him. I really would not want to be on camera in a situation like this, but essentially he says that for the sake of his own mental health, he needs to let this issue go and take the rest of the year to recover for a 2022 return. Because again, I suppose that the minimal good news here is that no, he doesn't have his videos, but Mark does still have his channel, meaning that he can slowly but surely make a decent recovery so long as he stays away from volatile content. So I wish him all the best, but as Mark himself pointed out, this was a pretty prick move from Toei to do in general, but especially during Christmas, which isn't at all uncommon because, fun fact, I actually have my own Toei Christmas story. They're not overly charitable during the holiday season. So I wake up on Christmas Day, my wife and I, we do the present thing, and then we get ready to go to my mum's house to do the present thing with them. And in the car on the way there, I get an email from YouTube, which is one place no YouTuber ever wants to receive an email from. Seriously, my heart jumps if I ever see an email from them because it's usually about something copyright related and it just makes you think that your career is over right then and there. And in this case, as expected, it was bad news and Toei had issued a DMCA takedown on a video that I had uploaded on Grand Line Review on Christmas Eve, like 12 hours prior. And for some clarity here, a DMCA takedown is the serious one. It's the really bad one that we do not want. It wasn't what Mark had with all of his videos being blocked. This was initiating a legal procedure and I was given a copyright strike. 3 of those and your channel gets shut down instantly, so yeah. And you know, I can't think of a more lovely thing to do to someone on Christmas Day. To think that there is some Japanese intern at the Toei legal department just sitting there on Christmas looking to ruin people's lives for the sake of, I don't know. And of course, it was the worst Christmas I've ever had because I kept compulsively checking my phone every 5 minutes for another notification, expecting another strike, then a third, and then the death of my entire career and a mental breakdown in front of my entire family on what should usually be a pretty decent day. Usually, I mean, it depends which members of the family show up. Thankfully, I suppose I was blessed that day because that was the only video targeted. So I got home, I mirrored the video in editing and published it again with a different thumbnail because F you, Toei. And interestingly enough, they didn't find that one and it's still up to this very day, which just adds to the confusion. I don't understand what the criteria they're looking for is with these videos because surely if you find one, the very next thing you do is look at the channel where it came from, and if they'd done that to me, they would have found literally hundreds of other One Piece videos. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm grateful for that ignorance, incompetence, laziness, or all 3, because it's the only reason why my channel still exists. But it just makes the mindset of Toei Legal so much harder to dissect. Because in theory, they have a zero tolerance policy, except they clearly have some sort of tolerance because they pick and choose videos to target. Or at least they did, because now we've entered a dangerous new era where they've picked entire channels to target. And honestly, I don't know what's going to happen from here. Even more so than before, I expect to wake up one day, probably one day soon, and be in the exact same situation as Mark. I don't know if that day will be tomorrow, next week, next year, or maybe never. And it almost doesn't matter because regardless, I am still going to feel that fear each and every morning either way. And just a personal note here, when I wake up, the very first thing I check is my Gmail account because I need to know if I still have a job before I actually start doing the day. That's literally how I start each and every single day. I check my email, I pray to whatever god that may or may not exist that I don't have any notifications from YouTube, breathe a sigh of relief, usually, and then put in a full 12 to 14 hours a day making content so that YouTube can make some money, then I go to sleep, rinse and repeat. And every day I swear I get a new gray hair. But where do we go from here? Well, it's difficult because I run a channel based entirely on One Piece, but I can no longer in good conscience support anything that Toei does. At least not financially, and to be clear, I'm not calling for some sort of mass boycott, this is just my personal decision. But I will not financially contribute to Toei in any way, which kind of sucks because there are 2 films coming out next year that look very promising. There's a Dragon Ball Super feature and of course One Piece film Red. I honestly don't know how I'm going to get around the One Piece one just yet, but I can't do this anymore. In my opinion, Toei no longer deserves what loyalty they had from me. They've ripped a man to shreds right in front of my eyes, a man who did nothing but love and appreciate what they were making. And I mentioned this in my first video, but the amount of new fans that Mark brought into One Piece was truly staggering, and I'm certain he did the same, if not better, for Dragon Ball. And to further clarify, this is a Toei exclusive issue. When it comes to One Piece, I will still happily support the crap out of the manga from Viz and Shueisha, but anything anime related, I'm just not going to funnel people into that product knowing that it's run by a company with such despicable disregard for the legal and even cultural systems of the countries that they operate in. Japan is not the entire world, and until Toei recognizes that, look, just F them. Like, seriously, F them. And they probably never will, so there's going to be a lot of effing, like the most unenjoyable lifelong orgy you can think of. And then there's YouTube. This is nothing less than a horrendous failure on their part, because it is their system that allows for this rampant abuse to happen in the first place. They have neglected their duties as a platform provider, milked Mark for 45% of his income, and then just cast him out to dry. And I'll make no secret of the fact that one of my key reasons for starting this channel was to have an outlet to say this sort of stuff, ideally without drawing unnecessary attention to my main channel, because Toei have proven that they will not hesitate to nuke anything. But going forward, this channel may be the only viable backup I have, because it's the only one that's not thoroughly embedded in anime and manga content. So I guess let's try and make the best of a bad situation. You know, dude in the room. That's what this is. I am the dude. This is the room. And that's all I promise you'll ever get. But that being said, if there is anything you want to see covered on this vaguely defined channel, let me know in the comments.